Yeah. You were missed, man.
And then did you guys spontaneous prayer moments?
Yeah,
I
dude.
saw you in the
Those
front
were
of one of the
strong.
pictures.
Oh, was I?
Yeah. Did you facilitate?
Yeah, I had a word. I threw Sammy out there. So it was Sammy, Daniel, me, and we brought in Zach from Asbury a little bit. But yeah, we started. Brad was just like, hey, so this is unique worship. It's kind of become something more than just songs. We used to just sing songs and kind of pray. And he said, so he was like, Adam, Zach, or Adam, Daniel, Sammy, could you speak more about what's going to happen? And then we were like, yo, Sammy, go. So he, just threw Sammy in the room. He lit himself on fire. He was like, so Sammy was just like, yo, so, we're just going to worship, be open, we did the Come Holy Spirit. But what I didn't know was like more than not, because some of them are like, either business people or they're part of a stream that isn't really spirit filled. So there were a couple cats, and I'll tell you more so off camera, but like part of like a top 5
experience,
largest church in America. And they said it was the first time they had ever experienced the Spirit move. And they're like executives at
the largest
pastors
churches.
At some of the largest churches.
And they loved it.
He came, one of the guys came up to me, he said, I have never experienced anything like, because basically what happened throughout the night was at first started we worship, but we worshiped short this time, which was nice. I don't know if you remember, sometimes like 30, 40 minutes. We did like 2 songs. Ministry. Yeah, we did like 2 songs. Boom, we're going into ministry. Sammy's up there immediately, like yeah. So Sammy's right away like, hey, this is what we want to pray for. This is what we're gonna do. Raise your hand if you're experiencing this specifically. And then I get a text from Phil because we do the little late night barbecue thing. He's like, bro, it's raining right now. Like I gotta figure this out because we're about to barbecue when this is over. Then I have to actually run out because I wanted to help him. We're moving tables around, we're switching around the canopies, all that stuff. So I come back after probably like 15 minutes and I'm just like, oh, hey, what?
People laid out.
Yeah. It was like people were sitting and someone was like at that point sharing, I forget who it was. And then, so Sammy's off to the side. So I was like, hey, what did I miss? He said, oh, well, we just did did some one-on-one, prophetic moments. And so, Miles Minnick, who's going to come on the pod.
Oh, he is.
He was there. So they spent a good amount of time on Miles, just speaking life into him.
Pictures. Miles uploaded a video.
Oh, did he?
Of him being prayed by a whole crew.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So at that time I wasn't in the room. So came back, he told me there was about probably 3 people
that got highlighted.
That got highlighted. And then we went into like, hey, if you feel like you lack, been lacking courage, or you've been lethargic about God, he doesn't excite you right now. And, we prayed for that. And the picture you're referring to was, one of the guys was going to have like back surgery, so they prayed for healing, and then Sammy, like you guys do, it was like, hey, I think Adam has something. You have some, Adam? And I was just like, yeah, So, and so we jumped in and prayed on some healing. So that's what some of the guys referred like. I've never seen anything like that.
Just went out in faith.
We prayed for physical healing and manifestations, and like 3 guys got healed in that moment. And so they are, people are clapping and they're like, yo, this is great. Cause guys are like, who like had knee pain and stuff. You could hear them. They're like, yo, I don't feel it. And so some of those guys that are from the church world where that doesn't happen, you can see their eyes are like,
they're tripping.
They're big, and then even some of them themselves experienced, some things which, we pray for wives' wombs. I felt like I had a strong inclination that some of you guys, your wives are going through like a really tough menopausal season because there were some older guys there.
Word.
Yeah. And then like
the bishop had a word.
Yeah. I was like, we got some menopause that's been really tough. And so let's pray for healing for your wife. And so I said, physical healing for you, one hand, if you're standing in the gap for your, like the centurion, like for your child or your wife, give me 2 hands. And then all the guys just spread out and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was cool because it wasn't that loud because there weren't a lot of pastors. So there were probably only maybe 6 or 7 senior pastors. So a lot of them were kind of praying quietly because that's not their environment. Yeah. So that was cool too. It wasn't like they were learning to move in the spirit as we were going, not just this like confident, I know what to do. There was only 3 of us probably praying out loud. Like everyone else was just really low.
They're receiving it. They're receiving it.
Yeah.
Dang, bro, I saw those pictures. I rarely get FOMO. I for sure, because all y'all were texting me.
Yeah, okay.
Like Ben was texting me, Kevin was texting me, y'all were texting me.
Yeah.
I was DMing with some other people, like Dan was DMing me, and like the whole crew was there. So I was like, yo, y'all need to stop messaging me, bro.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else offline though, but it's not like private, but it's not for public yet, but maybe yet, sure. Or just never happened, but we'll see. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Letter. You got Adam and Will in the house sharing with you today. You feeling good, bro?
I feel great. I got my cold plunge in.
Did you?
I got my workout in. Got my morning routine in.
You got it down.
Feeling good, yeah, bro. People don't know, but Adam and I are deep into plunges right now, and then Adam had a plug.
Yep.
Shout out to Golden Designs, right?
Yep, Ontario.
Ontario. So I got that plunge 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah. I was doing a broke plunge for about 3 months, just ice cubes all in my bathtub.
And then you showed me and Lee Domingue. And then Lee Domingue, we love Pastor Lee, but he comes from the corporate world, so bro busts out this whole like he shows us a corner of a home that's been like optimized as wild, like a, it looked like he was at a hotel,
like a 5-star hotel.
And he's like, oh no, that's my cold plunge area of my home, and you're like, bro, this looks crazy.
Yeah, so I showed them a picture of my bathtub with ice cubes, and then Adam shows me what his setup in his backyard, and then Lee shows us the freaking Royal Palace.
And there's levels.
And I was like, man, these ice cubes don't work no more. And then I hit up Adam. I was like, hey, yo, where'd you get your plunge? And so
I was like, I got you. Golden Designs.
I just did it, bro. I've been doing it, man, every day. 2 a days, great. 3 a days.
Yeah.
But 1 a day, every day.
Thank you, Nance.
What's up,
no,
Nancy?
it's okay. Yeah, oh, man. Still feeling good.
I feel great, dog. I don't know what it is.
That's good.
Ever since plunges,
I'm
dialed in, bro.
Yeah,
I feel great.
Yeah,
because I used to work out like 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Ever since I had carrots, but ever since plunging, I've been working like an hour. Not because I want to, just because I have energy.
Right. Yeah. You have energy, and it's cool when you have like a. I'm still waiting. My sauna needs to be like electrified because you got, the outdoor saunas, it's like takes so much power actually. I didn't know that. Yeah. You're like, it's basically like, charging a Tesla. You're basically running that same power, 240 to the single sauna. So you have to run a lot of like copper and wire to it. So that's the last thing I haven't been able to do because the electrician has to be there all day. And which I have to be there all day. Then I can't tell you the last time I was at home all day.
So it's there, but it's not set up yet.
Yeah, no, it's not set up yet. So the issue is like, man, it's crazy. But like when you have extreme ADHD, if like let's just say there's a puzzle piece and it doesn't fit, you can't revisit the puzzle until you fix it.
Yeah, I understand.
So for me, I haven't even been cold plunging because I was cold plunging every day until the sauna got put.
And you're fixated on that.
And I can't get an electrician to get there, to be there all day. So then they both just sit because my mind told myself I can no longer go in the cold plunge till I go in the sauna.
Sure.
It's a weird, like, I wish that, what I mean? Like, so, and I am still kind of working out, but I've also been really busy. So I am working out and stuff still, it's this, like, I haven't been able to, in my head, I have a picture now of what my fitness routine will look like.
Yeah.
So until I can do that whole thing, does not none of it can happen. You know what I mean? Like, but like I had the cold plunge a full, month and a half before we built the sauna. So I was doing it, 4 or 5 days a week. And then the moment that got put in and it can't be electrified yet,
you fixated, though. You just broke your whole flow.
No, but I go clean the water. I replenish it. You know, the cold plunge, I'm just not going in it, but I'm still doing the routine to take care of it. You know what I mean?
Bro.
So it's a mess, bro.
No, I was diagnosed with ADHD in 6th grade.
Oh, were you?
Like before people even really knew about it. So I get it, dog. I mean, I think yours is a little more intense than mine. Because I mean, there's levels. I'll be watching, because I feel like it takes one to know one. So sometimes I'm watching him. Oh, I understand what's going on in his brain right now. But I'm like, oh, but he a few notches more intense than I am.
It's bad. It's like, it's debilitating at times. But and you're, you know, and there are like, there's levels, just like there's levels to everything.
It's so hard for me. I'm just looking for dopamine hits because people with ADHD, they have lower levels of dopamine.
Right.
And so to compensate for that, we're looking for this to 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 this.
Yes.
So you go from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. So I've had to figure out in the last like 10 years, like how to curate my life to have maximal impact so that I don't just like. And then if I don't want to do something, it's virtually impossible for me to do it.
For sure. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
It's just not going to
and even inside my will could want to do it, but there is like a...
It's like if I don't want to do it, it's like I get rage.
Yeah.
Because like I only want to do what I want to do, and I will only do what I want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
and I didn't know that's an ADHD thing.
Right. It is. Yeah. Because in a sense there's a path that needs to take to do it. And if you don't see that path, because ADHD people, they're always completing the assignment in their head before they do it. So if they feel like it can't be done, or it can't be done to the degree that they think it's supposed to be done,
for sure,
then on the outside, it looks like they're not doing it, but on the inside, they've already done it 100 times. It's almost like Doctor Strange, and it's like he's running every guy, and it's just like, I can't solve it. I can't solve it. I can't. You know, and there are people that are brilliant with ADHD. There are people who are not brilliant with ADHD, and so there are some people that can utilize it as a gift, you know, and then there are people that it will literally debilitate them to succeed in life because of also other things that, lack of education, lack, all thereof of a bunch of things. And so it can be like really good for you. It can be really bad for you. It can be really healthy. It could be really unhealthy.
Like ADHD is like a wind in a storm. And you just need to learn how to set the sails to use it for you and not against you. Because I was on an expulsion hearing in 6th grade. And, it's a military school. And so it's a pretty intimate, they really try to care for the military kids, right? Yeah. And so vaguely remember they had a few stipulations for me not to get expelled. And one was I took an ADHD or ADD test. And I failed. So I was diagnosed with ADHD. And then one of the stipulations was to put me on medication.
Okay.
And then at that time, it was new, right? ADHD was newer. This is
Adderall?
30 years ago, right? Yeah. Almost 30 years ago. And so I remember my dad started reading on it. He's like a book guy. And then he found all these books from doctors who tell people not to take the medication and find other ways. And he brought the book to the expulsion hearing. My son's not getting on this medication. And will you be responsible if everything this book says will affect him negatively if it does?
Yeah.
And so they agreed I didn't take it. But
dang.
Yeah. So I never took medication, but it definitely ruined my life.
Yeah.
And I feel like I figured it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out, and I'm always figuring it out.
No, I think it's good. You didn't. I'm not... did you listen to my interview by chance with Carrie Newhoff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not all of it, but lots of pieces of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have to. I just wanted to ask. But so I've gotten that Carrie Newhoff thing is is a real thing. So when you go on the Carrie Newhoff podcast, it alters, in a lot of ways, it alters your life. I've been messaged hundreds of times, and these aren't people like, oh, I'm young and I just like social media, or you're really cool and hip. It's like, these are business people. These are, church leaders, all that kind of. Even when I was at this, at our Young Guns, there was like 8 or 9 new guys who I'd never met before. And they're like, hey, I just heard you on Carrie. Can I get a couple minutes with you? And you're like, it's just, they know who you are. Hey, I'm Adam. No, I know who you are. You were just on Carrie. It's like, that is like, that's the thing.
I mean, Carrie's podcast is the Christian leadership podcast.
There's no other. There's ministry. Like not really much of a competitor. There's other great ones, but there's not really a competitor.
It's the capital T.
Yeah, it's like podcast. Oprah. You know,
and that's
like there was 100%. Other daytime talk shows, but it's like then you had Oprah
for sure.
You know it. So it's real. So and I'm getting messages from people from Norway, Africa, Korea. It's just like, and hey, I listened to you on Carrie, and a lot of it has been. That's the first time I've ever heard like a successful in their eyes, because you're on Carrie's thing, a successful leader have ADHD, talk about it, share how they're using it for their bit. Like the amount I'm probably getting right now, 4 to 5 messages a day from people who are specifically referring to, thank you for talking about ADHD. I have it. I've had it. Youth pastors, feel like I'm failing as a youth pastor because I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I can't focus. How have you been able to thrive? So it's been wild how many. A lot of people have resonated with a few things I've talked about.
Yeah.
But the ADHDers, it was like a lot of them are like, I felt seen. I felt. And Carrie had told me offline, like he hadn't really had anyone who was ever really willing to talk, because you got to be able to talk about medication. He's like, some people, they don't like. I've asked, hey, would you talk about it? And they tend to not want to.
Yeah, for sure.
So that I don't know if, because I re-listened to it, but because they do cut it for time and take certain things out, or if Carrie prompts a question, they may remove that just so it's a succinct sentence or whatever. So he did say, I can't remember if it was on it or not, but if you feel comfortable talking about your ADHD, we don't have to. We can take it out. But I have questions about it, and I would love to talk about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine with it. And then I'm personally, and everybody is different, but I'm personally anti-medication when it comes specifically to ADHD.
I don't know enough to have a stance on that.
Yeah.
But I would say, and this is fun. We never even talked about this. No. I don't, because I'm not a medical doctor, and I've never taken medication, nor have I been on like a pathway to specifically address my ADHD.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with it, and I've done some personal research, but a theme that I have is I am constantly restless. I cannot not be doing something.
Yeah.
And I cannot also just do one thing. I have to do multiple things throughout the day to feel alive.
Right.
And I've had to learn over the years to try to do multiple things under the same umbrella so that I'm doing all these things and it's going somewhere productive rather than being involved.
And so you can hop.
Yeah, so I'm hopping off different tracks all on the same freeway going the same direction. While when I was younger, I didn't have no wisdom how to like manage this. I was just doing all types of random crazy stuff, right? Yeah. But as I got older, I'm like, okay, I need to learn how to like live with this, because this is something that's been with me since I was in 6th grade, apparently.
Right.
And so I do a lot of things, but I have to somehow figure out how it fits into the macro.
Right.
And I'm constantly restless. And then I found out, first thing when I wake up, I need dopamine hits. I think everyone has that, but I think with ADHD, is medically proven that you have
you can't function without it.
Yeah.
Where other people, they may need or want dopamine hits, but they can go longer periods of time without it.
Yes.
They don't necessarily need it to get up, to drive, like to push themselves.
Yeah.
Where someone with ADHD, it is, you are incapable of progressing to the next step without a dopamine hit.
Yeah. And so for me, I realized I'm not a morning person, but I had to become a morning person to not let ADHD take over my life.
Right.
Because I'm so sporadic and I'm so wild that I have to start my day in a very particular way so that I can build upon it in a more like streamlined lifestyle versus just being just
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
and I realized,
you're asking me,
but I'm sure there's people on the audience online who have ADHD and they don't know how to figure out their life.
There's a lot of people. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. The things that incapacitate you that you talked about, medication would help with that. I took Adderall for about a year and a half when I was in college.
Too, but not medically. I did it to get high.
Okay.
We used to snort Ritalin and Adderall, smoke weed when I was in jail.
Yeah. No, I know those times. I know those times too.
I don't even know if people do that anymore, but we used to crack it up.
Yeah. Well, you can
take an Ambien with that. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
And you were able to do that because it affects faster. You know, like when you ingest it spreads out over time.
Yeah.
Whereas when you would, crush it, you could, I mean, minutes, the Adderall's kicked in. And so,
so you took Adderall for a year?
About a year and a half. Yeah, year and a half.
It did help, but it also...
Oh, bro, every issue that you just said, constant dopamine hits, always having to have multiple things going at once, all that stuff was removed. All of it. I could sit down and I could write a 10-page paper in 2 hours. 10-page paper for me would take 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then I still wouldn't even do it, and I would do it the night of because I'd have to have the dopamine of I will fail tomorrow if I don't do it. So you're waiting. I mean, I remember writing papers starting at around 9 p.m. It's due at 8 a.m. and I would start it. I would take an Adderall and then I would start at 9 and then I would go into class at 8 with a final paper
and
finished.
Just locked
I hadn't slept yet. Yeah. And I would have like a glass of water next to me so I would not look up. And so that was like, this is really great. I've never been able to do this in my life. I'd go to class and I'd be like so zeroed in, taking notes, doing all that stuff. My leg would stop shaking. That's a famous thing I'm known for.
I shake my legs
people
too.
know when my legs start shaking, I'm losing interest. So I have small tells that people on our staff know that they can catch to start to see if I even touch my phone, my ADHD is kicking in because I'm trying to get I've lost interest in you. I need a dopamine hit. I'm still attentive, but I need something that locks me back in. Leg, phone, stuff like that. So, I'll interject humor. They know that that's me trying to, I'll engage something that's conflicting, and that's me trying to get a dopamine hit to stay in the conversation. So people learned it, they know it. But when I was on Adderall, I didn't need it. None of that stuff. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. But I was an entrepreneur, so I was paying for my school. My parents were helping with school, but they weren't helping everything because I kind of, there's stuff where I was cut off because theological difference, part of my story. So I had to get a job. Well, I don't like working for people, so I start my own company. So I ran a media company, and so what happened is my marketing company took a hit because I was doing substandard work because I wasn't multitasking projects, and so where I would only work on something when I was creatively inspired, I was no longer do that. And I was just giving it my attention, but I was inspired or not, and I was doing it. And so my clients were like, hey, I didn't like this.
So you
this
felt
didn't
like
come out.
Your creativity was stunted?
Yeah. And personally, for me, it was. Yeah.
And your ability to navigate multiple things because you were too focused.
Yeah. Because what would happen is, let's just say I was working on 7 projects for clients, right?
Yeah.
I was doing a T-shirt for this client, a website for this client, photography for this client, business cards for this client. Well, obviously, I'd have a deliver date. Okay, next Friday or whatever, and what would happen is I'd have about a week or 2 weeks that, as I was sitting watching TV, boom, this shirt idea. Oh, okay, I'm going to go work on it right now for 20 minutes. I'll hit a wall. I'm done with it because that's how ADHD is. If I'm not inspired, I'm gone. I'll move on. And then while I'm doing that, okay, I know I could do this for the flyer for this jewelry company. Boom, now I'm working on that. And so I'm working on 4, 5, 6 things all throughout the week. Well, then when I'm on Adderall, I'm there and I'm like, I got to get that shirt done. 4 hours, I'm working on it, But I'm not inspired. I'm not doing research. I'm not going out on walks or whatever it was that I needed. There'd be times I'd just go to the movies to process, what I needed to do for the companies. But when I was just locked in, it everything kind of, for me, it lacked heart. And I was even my clients could tell, hey, this isn't what you did before, and this and that, and I had to make a decision like, okay, I can either get like straight A's in school, but like, how am I going to pay for my groceries? How am I going to, I'm going to have to go get a job, and then and then like, even with my friends, it was like, I could tell like humor ran out, you know, and there's plenty of people. Most people are probably funny without ADHD, but that played into my dopamine hits, that wittiness, and so just so much of me changed that I thought made me special, or me personally unique. That I was just like, I don't want to continue to do this. And then the moment I stopped, all my grades went bad again and everything like that. But I quote unquote succeeded, right? So it was.
That intrigues me because I never took medication.
Yeah.
And so I just had to like figure out how to survive and not be so hazardous to people around me.
Yeah.
So like, you know how you're like jumping from this, jumping to this, jumping to this, even how I led as a staff or as a leader, as a boss or a pastor. It's like, I have an idea. I'm calling this person right there, right then.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, this, boom, this is what we should do. Bang, 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 bang. And they're like, oh, I'm in the middle of a meeting. All right, just call me right back. And then if they don't call me, I call the next person. Hey, and they're calling me. I'm like, I'll call you back later. And people are like, hey, Pastor, you can't call me at 10 p.m. because you have this new idea for this new ministry. But my brain's just like, it gets activated. And I have to like figure it out. And I get my wife used to always tell me, you're so obsessive too.
Yeah.
Like once I get something, I'm like completely obsessive, and then I'm done, and I just move on to the next project.
Right.
I'm completely obsessive.
Yeah.
And so Andrea, every vacation I go on, she gets a little nervous. She's, I don't know what he's gonna get obsessed about.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been so zoned in on ministry. Vacation comes and a completely new obsession because I can't stand still.
So some of the things I've done around that is, wherever I go on vacation, I do the same things, just in different places. So I obsess around doing the same thing in a new place.
Sure.
Whether it be the type of restaurants we do, activities I do with Ashley, or whatever it is, it's the same, but in a different location, so that I can lock in. Like, I can't necessarily go to a museum on vacation. It's very dangerous for me on vacation to go to a museum.
Your nerdy side's going to come out.
Because
you're going to be researching all night.
Like if I'm in Mexico and I go visit the Incas, I'm going to learn about the Mayans and everything.
For sure.
I'm going to spend that entire week like having to go from ruin to ruin to ruin until I figured out why did they cease to exist.
Until you feel satisfied to get that itch that you're going for.
That it was like, and it could be done by tomorrow. It could be this whole trip. So there are certain things that I go, I know I can't do. And then there are things I know I can do because I know that I'm passionate enough about it, and there's always room to learn, while also scratching that itch of what I have to do. And so, and Ashley's fine with it because there are things that she enjoys too. I have to do that, you know. And then for me, what I've found that can consistently, because one of my biggest issues with ADHD was, obviously I came onto staff and I've had bosses. And so, you can get fired or fail a lot when you work for someone and you have ADHD. That's most of the time people with burden, like when you're an entrepreneur or you're CEO, you love ADHD because you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And you can, and the world is built around you. And I'm in a world like that right now, not where I could do whatever I want, but I have a board, I have I have people that I'm accountable to and stuff, but I am the main day-to-day leader. And so therefore I can create systems and programs that work to my advantages. But for 14 years, I didn't have that opportunity. So what do you do there to thrive? For me, what I found was leadership development was enough that would scratch my itch. So what would happen is if I had an idea, I would commit that I wouldn't implement that idea. I would build a leader, pour into a leader who would implement that idea so that I'm constantly speaking into them while me not personally doing it. Because if I personally do it, when it's done, I will walk away from it and then it'll fail because there's no one there to manage it. Sure. But if when I was a youth pastor, we started a leadership program called Attaché, where like a lot of people in our church today were in that leadership program. Like my babysitter was in that leadership program called Attaché, and Aaron's daughter was in that program when she was a teenager. So, but I didn't launch it. I had a guy that I chose, that I picked, that I consistently. He and I started an email thread and a text thread, and I just, as I was building and creating document, I was sending to him, and then he would funnel and implement and all that, and he would build with those students and all that kind, and then I would come in kind of as a teacher, as like a mentor, but then I'd come out because I'm your biggest, you don't want me day to day, because they're going to come in. And then if I'm in the classroom every day or I'm in the room with them every week, we're going to be doing new things all the time. And that's not healthy. Yeah. That's fine for me. For sure. But that's not fine for everyone else who doesn't have ADHD.
Yeah. Andrea kicks me out of staff meetings all the time now.
Yeah.
She's like, don't come to this. You're just going to ruin it. Yeah. Because even a few weeks ago,
the only thing I do with our staff is devotionals. I can't do anything else. Because if they speak up, why are you doing that? Go and do it. I can't,
Literally, our last staff meeting, we had something called Beloved Teams Breakfast, where 3 times a year we gather 100 of our volunteers and we pour into them. And we train them, we encourage them, we celebrate with them. Pastor Bayless was just there and spoke to them. Yeah. And she was like, hey guys, let's do a debrief of how we could improve our team's breakfast. And I was like, we're doing a retreat next year. Yeah. I was like, this is good, but it ain't doing what we need to do. Let's go to the Oaks. Let's rent the whole spot. 2 nights, 3 days, all volunteers. And then Andrea's like, I just wanted some feedback on how to do this better. I was like, no. Feedback's too weak for me.
Change it.
Now every time because Andrea and I lead it together, right?
And is this like it for you? If you're not confident in your response, then I see weakness.
So 100%. Yeah. So this is what I say. I always tell my team, I want you to shut me down.
Yeah.
Because shutting me down shows me I don't see something correctly or you see something better. Yeah. And I always have a philosophy. I always say, I believe the best idea wins.
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm in this moment in our staff where my wife, we're not arguing, but we're debating.
Right.
And I'm getting stimulated.
Yes.
Because I feel
like this is so healthy. This is so great. And they're saying he doesn't trust me.
Yeah. And I'm we're finally getting to the solution.
Yeah.
Because the friction is bringing out the best. Yeah. And right as I feel like we're about to reach the answer, someone shuts down. They're like, well, I don't want to do it no more. I'm like, what? I was like, we were just getting somewhere. Yeah. And they're like, well, I feel like you're shutting me down. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm trying to lift you higher. Happens to me all the time, dog.
Yeah, for sure.
That's and I'm not even aware of it. Mm-hmm. And so I've had to learn I just walk out of staff meetings now. So Andrea leads it. Yeah. And I just come in.
I put translators around me. So Nathan's a translator, Aaron's a translator. So they know me well enough that
for sure
that people can go to them, and I'll tell them, I'll be like, just go talk to Nathan then. If you don't understand what I'm saying, they're going to translate for you. This is what Adam trusts you. He's fully you're valuable. It's just when he asked you, let me ask you this, when he asked you something, did you say anything like, we're trying to figure it out, we don't know yet, we didn't see that? If you said any of those words, he immediately thought that you did not do research, you didn't think it through. They're like, well, no, I did. It's just he asked a question that I didn't know. So it's so you need to tell him, great question, I don't know that part, but here's what I do know. And then you have to be confident in the research you did do. But if at any point he asks you something and you're just like, oh, I didn't know that, and it's very simple, he's not going to be mad at you. He's just going to think, well, let me interject and help you, I've already in my head, I've already launched whatever it was you're pitching. So I've already found, 10 holes to what you're doing. And our problem is not research, vision casting, the ability to not see problems. It's, can I consistently do this for the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years? Our issue is follow up. That's our problem, and that's our weakness.
Yeah, follow up and follow through. Yeah, and consistency, because we're always dreaming of new things. Yeah, right. And so
I got 3 big things right now that are in my head that are really scary for me, but it's it would change everything.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. That's
just in my schedule, everything, but it's I have to, I can't talk about it out loud because it'll scare people. I can talk about it with you, but with my team, if I bring it out,
I tell Andrea,
people are going to start getting worried really fast.
I've told Andrea multiple times in the last 2 years, I'm so thankful to God for friendships like you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I don't feel crazy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm talking to my team and they look at me like
you think something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong with me, or this is impossible, or this is too hard, which I totally get. And so I want to be sensitive to that.
For sure.
But when I'm around you, I say something. You go, oh yeah, bro, that's you can do that. Bang, bang, bang.
Yes,
bang,
do that
bang,
tomorrow.
bang. And
I'm like, what did you talk about next year? You can do that by next Monday.
Yeah. So for me, God's brought in a few friends where I feel normal.
Yeah.
I don't feel crazy. And so I'll tell Andrea, like, I was hanging out with Adam. I was talking to Jeff, or even like Julian, and like I feel like I'm in a company of like friends, peers, who are above me and or like next to me and challenging me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as a staff, I have to always like. There's a lot of times I have to hold back. I mean, I hold back all the time, and that's what that's.
And you have to. There's no way. There's no way not to. You know,
sure.
like there's no way. Yeah. But the only way to I've learned the only way to process fast and move fast is to fully just develop leaders.
100,000%.
So that's all. That's where I put all my ADHD.
Yeah.
And I'm at a place that, our organization is so big. I just have executives. So I don't get to personally develop leaders. And
like
so
you used to.
Yeah. And that is one of my biggest frustrations. But that is the hardest part for me now in this role is trying to work through like how to scratch my, because what will happen is if I personally decide to start developing leaders, then people can get the perception of favorites, because there's hundreds of employees.
Sure.
And it's like if Adam's developing 3-4 people and they're not even the executive team, it's like they're a youth pastor.
Yeah.
That's fun. I love it. And it would be really healthy for them and whatever they're owning. But then there could be this person over in this department that's like, well, what did they do to get, and more than anything, it's me going, hey, I saw a problem. I want to develop somebody. But someone else may be like, well, then, what if that person just gets more opportunity?
For sure.
Being Adam's favorite. So it's like you have to like just back out of that.
Yeah.
Which that's what I'm figuring out with it. It's like, how do I still?
It's interesting because I had a meeting with a consultant a few weeks ago at a retreat, and I was just telling him like what we're going through, what our problems are. And he gave me a framework that I was like, wow. Like, when you talk to like an expert, they're just levels to their understanding of organizational development. And he like has a framework of an arrow, and he's like, hey, you're the tip. You're a catalyst, right? And he said, leaders raise the ceilings and managers raise the floor. Mm-hmm. And you got to know the difference.
Yeah.
And you got to give permission to leaders. Their goal is to raise the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And then you got to get managers, though, who raise the floor so that the crash doesn't happen so hard and the operators just do what they're told. Yeah. But he said that the tip is the catalyst, the visionary one who lights it. Yeah. And the person that's connected to the bow, he called it a prototyper. Mm-hmm. A prototyper, they're also in the leadership quadrant, which are like raising the ceiling. They're Catalyst works with a prototyper, and the prototyper loves version 1. Mm-hmm. They love co-creating with the catalyst version 1 of the thing. Yeah. But they get bored fast too, so they don't want to do version 2 and 3. Yeah. And he said, but then the arrow itself, you need developers. Mm-hmm. And the developers, they take what the catalyst created with their prototyper, and they bring a spirit of excellence and architecture, and so it continues to get better and better and better, and then you just move on. Yeah. And then the end part, I'm just saying this, he said the optimizers, and then the stabilizers, CFOs, COOs, CEOs. But he just gave me permission, like, you're a catalyst. Yeah. So keep catalyzing. But he was like, but don't, you leave you don't got no managers, your thing's just going to implode.
For sure. No, it's going to, everybody's going to be crushed. Spirits are going to be low. It's going to, I was a prototyper for my dad. And then now I have a few prototypers on my team, it'd be like Jermaine, Corey, stuff like that. And then obviously I have my management executives that they're great. Nathan, Aaron, other ones that I have and stuff like that. But I get that for sure. Have you ever heard about I forget what they're called, the team at Apple? There's I think there's 400 of them. So Apple, biggest company in the world in terms of cash reserves, but they have thousands upon thousands of employees, but they have a team. It's either 300 or 600, and their sole job is to disrupt the company internally, so that their competitors don't do it. So it's their job to reverse engineer competing products and see why it's better, and then look at their products, see why it's... So their job is to literally have meetings and set emails with departments saying, here's all the holes in your system. And when I heard that, I was like, that would be like a dream job. You know what I mean? Like, it's like your job to disrupt the company from within. But that is like an ADHDer's dream.
Always problem solving.
Yeah.
Like, I've made so many people cry giving them feedback.
Oh, really?
I didn't know, though.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So now when people ask for feedback, I have so many disclaimers. So, hey, like, your people, can you give me feedback for my sermon? I'm like, all right, hold up. Real quick.
Yeah.
What level of feedback? How much permission do I have?
Yeah.
Because I've had people, I'll give them feedback on their preaching, and they like just break down crying. And I'm like, yo, like, I'm trying to help you. Like,
you asked.
Yeah, you asked. My love language is actually acts of service. Yeah. And my service is bringing solutions.
Yeah.
I've had people in their leadership development, they're like, can you give me feedback how I led that meeting? And I just see their faces start to
you see them crumbling from within. Yeah.
And so even in Culture Index, the one I talked to you about, when your A is in front of your yellow dot, when your autonomy is in front of your sociability, the way you and I problem solve is what they call a process of elimination. So our brains are wired to think of all situations that we just are process eliminating down to the solution that we think is best. When you're yellow, your sociability is in front of your red, they go through a process of recollection and information. So rather than problem solving new things, they recollect past experiences and they can bring past experiences into the new solution. Yeah. People like you and I, they call us emergency doctors. You throw into the emergency room, shot this way, that way, we'll figure it out. Right? Versus the other way, they're more surgeons. Yeah. Same thing.
Everything's got to have a plan.
Over and over.
Yeah, nothing should go wrong.
So they're saying if you're putting a senior catalyst, you want more of the dominant red and yellow because they feel comfortable in new terrain. They've never done it before, but their brain is wired to think about all the possible things that can go wrong, and they start to process eliminate. To the best solution. But if you put them in something that just needs to be done the same way over and over, they're going to do the same thing in 100 different ways and ruin the pathway you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So they're telling me like, bring Will in when y'all going through new terrain.
For sure.
But if you're trying to create a pathway that's streamlined, get that full out. That full out this meeting.
Tomorrow, you're going to build it today, and then tomorrow he's going to say, I thought of a better way. And we got to start it over. For sure. Yeah, you literally got to get it out of the hands. Yeah, 100%. So that it could just be ran. Or else
I don't know if that's ADHD. I'm sure ADHD has to do with that.
Well, I think there's personality types, all that, but also, for sure. It's a ADHD thing, for sure. It's if you are responsible for doing something the same over and over and over again, you are going to change it every time.
And one of the things that Andrea and I are processing is hilarious is when we're fighting, right? I know everything she's going to say.
Right.
Before she says a word. Yeah. Right. So I'm just dying to try to listen. And then sometimes I experiment with her. I'm like, give me a second. I go like, before you say anything, can I just say to you everything I think you're going to say? She's like, fine. Yeah. And I say all of it. And then she goes like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, but listen to what I'm going to say. But then we do reverse role. Yeah. I go like, you guess what I'm going to say. She never knows. It's wrong every time. And so I'm just like watching her lips. I'm like, I knew that 15 minutes ago, the whole thing I could have told you in 10 seconds. And so I've had to work on that too.
For sure.
So even when I'm like problem solving, I could solve it for my team. Yeah. But that doesn't do anything. No. Right? What you want is ownership. Yeah. And people take ownership when they self-actualize. Right. So sometimes we're problem solving and I'm just like,
I know.
Bro, like I know exactly.
I just go like this. That's why I'll just go like this. I'll go on my phone and I'll be like, call my name in 20 minutes. Because I already could have, and then I'll be texting the executive, this is what they should be doing, And they're helping them like realize, because I'm like, if I say it right now, I'll literally be texting them like.
I've been doing lately, because in the past I will hurt them. Yeah. Because I will just solve it for them, or I'll just solve the problem and tell them what to do. Yeah. And they feel like they're stripped of their autonomy, even though they knew that was the right thing. Right. So now I have to tap into my like, a non-existing shepherding gift, but I have a shepherd's heart. So now what I do when I'm working with a high-level leader, like I already know the solution, but I guide them into the solution with questions. Yeah, so by the end, it took me 2 hours, but at least it created a healthier team. Yeah. So that's the tension, bro. So there have been times I'm like talking to someone, I'm like, I already know what we gotta do. Yeah. But if I tell him or her, they're gonna feel like I just bully them into that role. Yeah. So now I go like, well, what do you think we should do? Yeah. And I'm okay. Now here are the scenarios. What do you think? And God's stretching me that way.
I have a friend that's an executive at one of Amazon's companies, and so he's gotten lately he gets a little bit of FaceTime with Jeff Bezos in meetings and stuff like that. And he told me, he said he's the most impressive leader I've ever met, and ever been around.
Of course.
And I said, well, tell me why. And he goes, well, there's two things that specifically stand out. He goes, I've been in enough meetings now. And he said, Jeff always only has 2 responses. He does not have more than 2 responses. These are always the 2 responses. Have you ever thought about or help me understand? So he says nothing else. So he says if he's not happy with what they're doing, he always says, have you ever thought about doing X, Y, and Z?
Or help me understand.
Or he'll say, help me understand. And he says, dude, it just actualizes the moment. Everybody, it lets him get his feelings out with that. He's like, you can't build the largest company in the world and not have an ability to communicate, well, and get your team to be where you probably want them to be. And so he says, I've never heard him say, when we're actually in a meeting, he said, I've never heard him start his sentence with any other thing other than those 2 things.
That's so good.
And I was just like,
that's so good, dog. Yeah. Because if he says it, it'll kill creativity.
Exactly.
Kill ownership.
Some of those people have been working on their presentation for literally like,
like
9 months, 12 months. And so if he goes, no, I don't like it, or this is ridiculous. It's his company. He can do whatever he wants. But at that top, I mean, they have I think it's millions of employees, right? Yeah. Like you cannot let it disseminate from the top. Everything's got to, so it's always, man, help me understand. I don't know how this can be, or if he knows the solution and he wants to offer it, he says, have you ever thought about doing it this way? And if they say yes, it's an open door to say yes, and here's why it won't work. Or no, therefore we'll come back. And it's just a way that immediately just lets the conversation happen on the table. And I was just like, dang, that's, makes sense. Pretty smart, and stuff. The toughest part for us with the ADHD was, for me and Ashley, was when our school has slowly started to, make suggestions that Matthias, our oldest, has ADHD, which I saw it in him when he was like 2. He's 7 now.
My firstborn, she has it for sure.
My youngest has no issues.
Me too. My other 2 are fine.
Yeah, and so in kindergarten, they were sharing what issues, and I guess you can't be diagnosed at kindergarten. It can go, especially more so for, like an outside source could diagnose, but within the school system and within our private school, it's, I guess, like 1st and 2nd grade, it can start to be, shared. And then there's at least our private school has a policy that, if you are diagnosed with it, they put it in his file and they have to tailor his learning towards his style, right? It becomes mandatory for every teacher. But not all teachers are fans of that, because what teacher wants to customize? And they're not even
equipped for it either.
Exactly, yeah. And so I would say, I would say we're apt to be a little bit better at it because we're private school, but still. And so when they started telling Ashley, like, hey, we can't really, say this yet, but there's signs, and we're meeting with the specialist that deals with getting him. Ashley came home one day and she was just crying. She's like, I see your life. I don't want. She legitimately was like, I don't want that, for his future, because there's a work attraction to it, but then there's life. There's real life, right? And mine is mine is at times debilitating, so like I'll leave a front door open,
Sure.
The freezer will be left open. Everything will melt, and it's not conscious.
Yeah.
There are aspects to it, right? There's, I forget certain clothes on at times if I moved on to a new task. It's an obsession over thought, right? So I have to be really careful if I'm listening to a podcast while getting ready, because if I fall in love with a concept or idea, it's gone. And I leave the house and I didn't shave, or I didn't even grab the right pants or whatever, So she's like, I see your life. It's not, and so she was like crying, and then I was like, no, we're not. This is my whole. I didn't know I could have the capacity to be successful until I was in college.
Yeah, same.
I was convinced until 18 years old that I was one of the dumbest people in the nation.
Me too.
I literally GPA.
Thought I was a worthless human being.
Yeah, and I was convinced you could not. So I thought like being very outgoing and causing attention to myself is what could give me value. Because surely my thoughts, my brains, having an education couldn't be. So convinced I'm going to be worthless. So I got to go in the military and just put myself in the front lines. And that was my
pathway.
That was my thought, and because every test, every school meeting, every counselor meeting, every teacher meeting was just like, Adam, you don't have it. But I had every sign of ADHD and other things. So it's like, for her, I was like, we're not going to go there. Like, we are not going to tell him he has a problem. He has a gift, just like anything else, and we can develop that gift or we can sour that gift. We can put him in a box and say, this is what intellect looks like. It's getting A's on your spelling bee. I said, or we can tell him, Matthias, let's do that. Like I have him next week or in a week and a half. I signed him up for a week camp at Code Ninjas, and he's going to learn how to build Roblox and Minecraft by coding it. So he's going to learn how to build his own worlds. He's so excited. It's my job as dad to see what gifts, but also a personality, whether he's neurodivergent, whatever, and not just say, oh, well, that's his life. He's going to struggle in school, or be like, hey, son, I know you like Roblox. Yeah. Would you like to learn how to make Roblox, like build the software? Yeah.
For sure.
And that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to try it. If you really like that, that's a whole world, engineering, coding, computer, it's a whole world, which is why I always liked multimedia marketing, because it's always growing. It's always learning. It's always different. So I've always been interested in it. So there's kind of no end. So computers is kind of that way. There's no way to really figure out computers. It just is always developing. So for me, it's my responsibility as his dad to make sure, at least not feel the way that I felt growing up, but to say, hey, you have a superpower. Your superpower can be really, really detrimental, or it could really, you could go into entrepreneurship.
100%.
There's so many things you could do, because more than likely the school, whether they mean well or not, they're X's and O's.
Yeah.
It's A's, B's, C's.
For sure.
That's the whole world they define by. So he can either believe that, or I could say, and it's like what I said in Carrie's thing, like my dad, finally got healing at, 33 years old, when my dad said, I never believed you were your test scores. I was like, wow, I would have loved to hear that at 16,
So what's interesting for me is that same expulsion hearing, my dad said to the principals, my son doesn't have a problem. Your system of education has a problem, and you guys don't know what to do with kids like him.
Yeah.
Because my dad, that was one thing my dad did since I was young, bro. He always told me, you're a leader, son.
Yeah.
Like, he's been saying that. I can't remember a time he never said that to me.
Yeah.
So when I used to come home with like F's and D's, he'd be like, don't worry about it. You can change the world. He was like that. He was the only voice in my life since I was a kid. Because the first time I got arrested, I was in 5th grade. I was just curious. When I saw train tracks, I got all these. I jumped the fence with my boys, got rocks on it, got gallons of water. We put tree trunks on it. Yeah. And a train was coming, and we had this mountain of stuff on the train. Right. And we're in 5th grade. I'm just like, I'm bored right now.
Yeah.
Boom. And the only reason I got caught was my 2 homies. They were 2 years older than me. So they were able to jump over back the fence. I was too small. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
I remember they caught me.
Yeah.
Get arrested. And from the time I was in 5th grade, I probably got arrested like every 2 months.
Yeah.
All the way. And the law is different in Korea.
Right,
but
right.
my dad always saw the gift in me, dog. He's like, you're just a leader. You're going to do what you want to do. And then my grandfather did the same thing because he was a businessman.
Okay.
But then the teachers, other voices, like, you're crazy. You're uncontrollable. You're going to end up in jail, prison, or dead. Like, and I just believed all that.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I remember the conversation at 17, senior year, sitting with my counselor, and she was like, and I was with there was another like not superintendent, but like a administrative leader, you know, in the room, and they were like, you know, right now you have at that time it's a 1.8. Most of high school it was 1.4. They said right now you have 1.8. We're going to need you to fill out this paper. And I was like, what is this paper? You have to go to your parents and fill it out. I said, what is it? And they go, you're gonna have to go to Ontario, and there's an adult continuation school because you won't be graduating high school. And I was like, okay. And they were like, they said, you and only one other student aren't graduating.
I bet you the other students a world changer too.
Yeah, I don't. But I remember the time knowing who it was, and like I said on Carrie's podcast, it was the school drug dealer. You know, it was like the kid who just like not really mom and dad in the house, just like like an aloof. You know, like he probably didn't even go to school, and he's the other guy. And I'm going to school every single day. I'm taking all the tests. I'm doing homework. I'm doing in the class. So she says, you're gonna have to you got to go to this. You got to show us at the end of the year that you have a next, you know, or else it wasn't that I'm going to be able to graduate. It was just like, or else you're going to be in trouble and whatever. So, bro, I feel like, but there was like no encouragement. Like it was just like, hey, you're an idiot. You're not going to do this. We got to be able to tell the government, you have a next. You're not going to be a burden to society. This and this and this. And I remember like that's probably like a top 3 embarrassing moment, because what happened was later on that evening, my mom had to take, or I think I asked my mom to go with me because I drove at the time. I had a license. I think I had to have parent signatures. So my mom went with me. And I remember going into the line, and everyone that was in line was like a Mexican immigrant in their like 30s and 40s, and they were trying to get what you call
diploma.
It, like a diploma, but there's a word for it, whatever it is. They're in the line. No one there looked like me. No one there talked. I mean, I know I'm 50% Mexican, but I mean in the sense of like I'm not from Mexico. I'm American. Yeah. So like I'm an alien to me in this line, and they all just want to be in society and thrive and get a job. So they want, you know, some type of diploma or whatever. I'm there. I grew up in the education system, went to all my class, and I'm there with them, and feel like probably. It's one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I feel like an idiot. And then I go to school, and you're a senior, so all the topics of conversation is, where are you going to go to college?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to continuation school.
Yeah.
Because I can't. I'm mortified. So I go, and basically what they said it's, you know, it's 3 months till graduation. It's probably not going to happen, but in order for you to get a 2.0, you're going to have to get an A in this class and a C in this class. Well, thankfully, the A in the class was talking about was TV, video, and film with Mr. Cataldo, who I was friends with. I'm still friends with to this day. Wow. And I went and met with him, and I was like, it was senior level, though, because I was also doing other stuff for him that I could get an A easily. But this one was like he actually had to grade stuff and all that. And I was just like, Mr. Cataldo, I know I have a B like plus right now, but like here's the situation I'm in, blah, 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 blah. And then my English class, I had to get at least a C because I had a D at the time, or a D or an F, and I had to get a C. It was probably an F. And Miss Katchenchai, Mrs. Katchenchai, I went and told her she felt horrible for me, like embarrassed for me. So she said, what you're going to do for the next 3 months, 3 days a week, you are going to come in my classroom for 2 hours after school, and all of the homework assignments, you're going to do them with me. Because if you do them with me, and then I can give you the grade that comes with that. So literally 3 months before, all week went from F, finished with a C, and then Mr. Cataldo, we locked in an A, finished right at 2.0. I found out the day before graduation that I could walk. Still felt like, as I crip walk at home base. There's people who like come to our church who like their kids graduated the same year as me, who still remember me crip walking on home plate. And because I was lit, and people have no idea. I was like, I found out 24 hours before that I was going to be able to, that I was even be able to walk. But you imagine like that guy at 35 leading one of the largest churches in America, and and doing whatever else in business and corporate. If you had $1 million and that you had a list in 2007, 2008, I would have been the last on your list to bank that would do anything. But that is because that's what education was built to do. Worker bees, build worker bees, build people that get A, B's, and C's, don't think for yourself. Don't have an opinion for yourself. Don't have personal drive that has nothing to do with what we've curated for you. And education is great and it's important and there's value, tons, but it's not the value, and I was being told up until that point, you have zero value unless you do well at this.
For sure.
And so I'm always, and look, I'm the guy on the board of a university, and I'm we have one of the largest private schools in our entire region. I for lack of a better term, I'm over it in some ways. So it's like, and that's the guy who's involved in education. But I'm always thinking of the kid that's like,
no, 100%. Especially because your son Matthias and Mike and Karis, we see that, and so I see my daughter, and I'm like, oh shoot, I see me.
Yeah.
So I get healed. Yeah. I get healed in one sense. I'm like, man, like if someone cared for me, this is just how I was born. And I also get worried. I'm like, I hope the world can embrace her, like
for sure,
and like call out the gold instead of like throwing dirt on her,
Yeah.
And so
that's why I don't ever mind. Like when Carrie wanted to talk about it or this, like I like talking about it. I know it's very, in some ways it's niche. A lot of people have ADHD, and I know it's worse nowadays because of technology and the amount of dopamine hits we can get. And I also 100%, I believe a lot of our issues are food related.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I not only was it bad for me, but I know it will be worse for the next generation because food is not improving and technology is not improving in the sense of if you have ADHD or anything like that. It's making it much more of an excessive hurdle to jump over, which that's why for us, it's like, we make sure we let Matthias have his iPad and stuff, but we also make them spend a lot of time away from it, specifically him, because the iPad's incredible because he can be into something new all the time. He can like the amount of times, because I get requests for everything, he probably asks to download 6 to 7 new apps a day. When he's on his iPad, because it's a drawing app, and then he's here, it's a reading app, and then and so he has a diverse desire, but I don't go a day without him asking for a new app, and then he spends 10 minutes on it, and then he's done on it, and then he'll go back to YouTube, Roblox, Minecraft, so then it's, hey, we're not doing our iPad today, everything's outside, guys. Mom got chalk, this and that, blah blah blah, like. Ashley does a great job at recognizing it. So she's, let's go for a walk. We're going from a walk to then we're going to go see your cousins play. iPads all stay at home. Not even if we're at dinner, here's crayons, here's paper. I mean, I know after you're on site, you made a lot of changes, in terms of your kids in general. But for me, I got to be really like Thomas. Matthias will be on his iPad and Thomas will be outside in the grass laying. Like Thomas doesn't have ADHD, so
Kairos could just hang out by himself all day.
No problem.
One thing, he could play with dinosaurs for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
that's my second son.
That's Thomas.
My son. Yeah.
Matthias, I'm bored, and that's me. That was me, and I could be like, "Shut up, stop," or I'm like, "That's me. I'm bored too." Like, what do you want to, So I'm even trying to, like, I'll include, us in our neurodivergent stuff in the sense of him. I'll be like, well, let's do it together. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? I'm doing this. Come join me. Come, because I get it. I could be annoyed that he's bored, or I could be like, yeah, I'm bored. Like I'm getting mad at you for something I am too. That's why I'm on TikTok. I'm bored too. It's like, but I'm getting dopamine hits. You can't because I took your iPad away. Like
for sure.
Yeah.
That was fun, dog. I've never talked about my ADHD.
Yeah, dude.
I may talk about it with the homies, but not like.
Yeah.
It's my first time.
And I know you have it.
No.
It's just when I have it, my severity, I don't.
You're
not annoying to me, so you're probably annoying to other people, but to me,
but that's probably why you and I could talk about so many things.
Yeah,
because we're just our ADHD. We could just
and more than likely we've done hours of research of whatever we're talking about.
Hours.
Yeah. And, that reminds me. Something 2 years ago I listened to from a doctor. For sure. Yeah. Well, y'all, thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. As always, it's always, sometimes we're talking about areas of faith, life. I didn't even know Sammy jumped in here.
Like ADHD right there, bro. He's on his phone right now.
Hey, bro, listen, I got a phone because I heard the door open. I just didn't want to turn around and pay attention to who it was. We got Sammy in the house. All right, y'all. Peace out.
Peace.